Welcome to the Finance Style podcast, where we delve into the remarkable career journeys of professionals. Today we have a privilege of sitting down with Iain Stansbie, the Marcom Business Development Director at Stauff UK. Iain, welcome.
Hello.
And it's also interesting that we are at your studio and we have a live audience.
We do, yes, it's the first time. We've used the studio quite a lot, but the first time with an audience, as you say.
Yes, brilliant. It's very professional. So thank you for having us, and all the team there in the studio also recording and helping us edit the podcast. So I really appreciate that.
No problem at all. We're enjoying it.
Forward to, you know, the site tour later. Yep. But now let's delve into the Finance Style story of today, which is you being you and getting where you are.
Right, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So could you explain to us what drew you into this sort of world of marketing and manufacturing initially? Because obviously, first of all, you are now the Director, Business Development, Marcom.
Marcom, yes.
Business Development Director. It's quite a long
It is a long title. The Marcom comes from marketing communications, and then the business development is a bit more away from the traditional business development, and it is to do with digital side of it, although we look after customers as well. But whether we're doing exhibitions or looking after the digital platform, we're the first port of call for the business, really. Apart from obviously the ASMs, the area sales managers out on the road, the marketing team, Marcom team, are the first in the line of fire, basically. Yes,
and give me a quick overview of Stauff, because it's a global company, and with a presence in UK, in Yorkshire. That's where we are today.
Yes.
The HQ, big site, really beautiful, professional. So give us an overview of that.
An overview of Stauff UK. We have 3 sites in the UK. We're here in Sheffield as the main head office. We have Aberdeen, which is in a place called Portlethen, just outside the centre. And they tend to look after, not predominantly, but mainly offshore oil and gas. They do a lot of other industries as well. And then over in Ireland, we're in Belfast, and they look after the crushing, screening, mining equipment. And we deal with hydraulics, basically. Anything from filtration, hose, tube, fittings. So that's predominantly what we do.
And it's how many people do you employ?
In the UK, we're 180, or just over 180. There's 20 up in Aberdeen, 19 in Belfast, and the rest here in Sheffield.
So brilliant. That's thank you for that. In terms of yourself, though, obviously it's a manufacturing business, and you are the Marcom Business Development Director. But your passion is marketing.
Yes.
And it started quite traditionally.
It did, yes.
Was it 16 and you got into printing?
Yes, a long time ago. I started, in fact it was before I was 16, I started in a family business when I was 14 in school holidays, and I used to go and work in my uncle's printing shop, just 4 of us. And he promised me a job. I don't know if he regretted it or not, because I took the job. So at 16 I decided I wasn't going to carry on with further education. And I went into printing. So it was printing and graphic design. I migrated more towards the graphic design. And then from there I've worked for agencies as a freelancer. I've had my own business. And I've dealt in all sorts of industries, from fashion, catalogues, to electronics. But I always, again, migrated towards engineering because of my dad's background. He's an engineer. He always instilled engineering into me, and taking things apart, which I'm good at. Putting them back together isn't always my forte. But yeah, I do like engineering and mechanical and that type of thing.
In terms of, I need to pick your brains on that fashion ones. What exactly?
Well, do I look like I took any tips from fashion? No, the fashion was to do with the photography side. The creation of catalogues. So that's where the fashion side, and that was when I was doing freelance. And when you're doing freelance, you can go from that to an engineering business, to banking. There can be. I've worked in many businesses, and you learn a lot very quickly, because sometimes you can be going in for a day if they need somebody, a position filling for that time, somebody's off ill, whatever, or you can get a longer term contract and you can be in for months. So you have to hit the ground running. You have to know what you're doing straight away.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk about. It's that period when you worked as a freelancer across various industries, because it actually really shaped your career later on. And What are the key takeaways and experiences you took on from that period when you was a freelancer? As you say, you was going from fashion to mechanical engineering to, you know, all sorts of places.
The takeaways are being flexible, and that's helped in not just my career in Stauff, but other careers I've had with similar roles, and it's been a bit of a downfall sometimes because you've had to do everything, from photography to graphic design. Speaking with printers, but if you've got that knowledge, you can work much better. That has changed more recently, where the big realisation is you can't do everything yourself. As the company's got bigger, we've had to bring more people in. The team obviously are working with us today, operating the control room, the cameras, etc. They're very professional, they know exactly what they're doing. They've come from a different, a similar situation to me, of a traditional graphic design background. But when you are creative, you can move from one passion to another and one discipline to another, really. And
in terms of the transition you took on from the freelancer to the world of, you know, full-time employment, let's call it, how did it impact your career trajectory? Because obviously the moment, it was quite interesting story, because you went to a company as a freelancer and they gave you the job. And there was a decision of like, do I take it or don't I take it?
Yeah, I was originally employed, and I had an apprenticeship, and I stayed on after the apprenticeship for 5 years. Then, as I say, I started moving around agencies. The freelance side came when I decided I was going to have a go at doing it myself, a business of my own, which took off okay, but it was the wrong time. Contracts were short term. It just didn't work for me. So that's why I went freelance. One of my freelance appointments was in Manchester, which I actually live over in Lancashire. I shouldn't really reveal that when I'm working in Sheffield, but I do. And over there, I was in Manchester, and I went in for 2 weeks, and I was actually offered a job there. And then I went.
Was it at Flowtech?
No, that was another place in Manchester. And then I went to Flowtech, and I was assigned for 2 weeks. And they came to me after a couple of days and said, would you like to stay on as a graphic designer and work with the design team? And then a couple of months after that, the manager of that team decided that she was moving on, and I applied for the role, which I was successful with. And then a couple of years after that, working with the team, I was offered a directorship of the company as well.
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting progression from just
quite quick.
Yeah. And what was your thinking behind that, in terms of you just went for it? It felt like the right thing to do.
It was the right thing to do at the time. It was definitely the right thing to do at the time. You know, you always come against decisions in your life, and do you make the right ones all the time? Definitely not.
Yeah.
You know, you make mistakes along the way. We were talking earlier about the mistakes build you. The successful times are good. They're great. We live off those. But if you don't let the mistakes shape you, and you don't do them again, or if they happen again, you know which way you're going with them. That's a mistake in its own right. Excuse me. So, yeah, that is one lesson learned. Learn from your mistakes and adjust accordingly. So,
was it, when you say mistakes and adjusting, was there any difficult period adjusting to, for example, managing the team, because it's something you've never done before, and then suddenly you become from a team member to
it's difficult.
You become a manager
when you've done that transition. When you've done that transition of being in a team and moving up to a manager, there's a lot of lessons that you have to learn. How you speak to people. Some people will take being spoken to not in a harsh manner, but in a jovial manner. Other people, you have to put your arm around them to get them to work, and then on other days they totally switch, and that's when you've got to spot that there might be a problem at home, and it is about managing people. It's not just managing the work they're doing. Everybody's got a different temperament, and you've got to spot those things. So is it, as a manager, this is your role to do that? Yes. Just that? Yeah, it's not just that, it's but their happiness and their contentment means that they work to a certain level, and you do have to spot it. You've got to be everything. You've got to try and be the friend, but know that sometimes you've got to, bring them back in line. The carrot and the stick, right? Exactly, exactly. So you've got to be a multitude of things. Yeah. The transition up to being a director is different again, because you're bringing people through, and the biggest thing is letting go and saying, yeah, go and get on with it. Let people make mistakes.
Yeah.
If they're making big mistakes, you go and advise them, but people got to learn to make mistakes, because that's how they learn to do it right. I wouldn't say catastrophe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that really, but you know, the little mistakes, people learn from it.
Yeah, yeah, and you have to be there to sort of steer them in the right direction, and then the next time will be better, and the team evolves in a way.
Yeah, yeah. And what I've learned in this industry is not everything goes to plan.
And you have to accept that and just deal
sometimes with it. Sometimes you do. You know, you come across little glitches, and you know the audience sat there.
So maybe not accept. You have to just manage it when it comes up.
Manage it. Yes, yeah. It's definitely manage it. It's keeping calm, and it's also, as I say, the audience sitting there, that they might know something's not quite right or not exactly how we planned it, but that's the preparation as well. What we're finding now is we're building the team for the future. My goal is to have a team where we not only have traditional marketing, but we have digital marketing, where they are going out and they're actually advising the sales team where to go and look for the leads, and how they can help them, and who's come onto the website, where they've come to the website, entry points, exit points, building up profiles of people. So that side is going to build. So it's all very fluid, it's very technical, and if you don't do it, you're going to be left behind.
If you let me, just diving back to my original question, if for other people in a similar situation who are moving up the ranks, do you have any specific advice or something maybe you would recommend?
Although people will probably disagree with this, listen to what people are saying, and watch what people are doing. There's a lot of good people in Stauff, a lot of good people. Not everybody has got the hand up saying, I'll do that, I'll do that. A lot of people do, and they're the easier type of people to deal with, because you know you can count on them. It's the people who sit back a little bit and haven't got the confidence. You know they've got the skills, but they haven't got the confidence. So, you know, listening to people is always good, and taking time for people. It's
one really interesting thing which really stuck in my mind when we last spoke, was when you said, when I think what really helped you progress and get spotted and get by, going upwards on an upward trajectory in your career, was always give that little bit extra.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one of like a philosophy and value for you that you've adopted, and it has helped. If
somebody asks you for something, if you give them a bit more, they're always going to be pleased.
Not a bit less, a bit more.
Always a bit more. Always a bit more. Yeah. And if you have to play your original down a little bit, so you're always exceeding expectations. Yeah. People
even if it's just a little bit, if it's just a detail.
Doesn't matter how small it is. If somebody spots it and goes, I like that, and if they adopt it, even better. Yeah. Even better. But yes, for me, if you exceed expectations, they see it, and when you get the praise for it, it makes you feel good. You know you've done a good job. You've then got to raise your bar even more, but that's the point. That's the development. We're never in a situation where we stop still. We're not going to do that. Technology is moving very fast. Yeah, we need to keep up with it. So that's,
I wonder where you picked that up. Is it somewhere in your early age or career, when did somebody tell you to do that little bit more, or did it came from your own?
I think it's a bit of both, really. That's my nature, to do a little bit more. I know when I was very young, I helped my uncle, whose printing firm I went to. I helped him and a couple of guys move a machine. Yeah. And the guy who bought the machine was offering me jobs. I was only 15, but he obviously saw something in me. But I do get it from my parents as well. They're very proud people, and you know, although they don't stand up and shout about everything, you know, they've instilled that in me. Do your best. That's one of the things. Yeah,
I like that. That have stuck in my mind. And in terms of coming back to your team, about leadership, the trust is the critical component of a successful team. So how do you instill that in your team and maintain it? Or like, could you share an example of a challenge or a mistake you faced and the valuable lessons you gained from it?
I can tell you about trust. The fact is that I'm sat here, knowing that up in the gallery there, that I'm trusting my team to make me look good. That's one of the first things to trust. Yeah. But no, and
they're doing a great job.
It is trust that gets us through. And as I said before, it's the stepping back from that.
Yeah.
I trust them implicitly. You know,
Yeah.
the big thing for Marcom for me, not just in Stauff, in any business, is we need to make sure that the company looks good at all times.
Yeah.
However, there may be issues, and you know, every company faces issues.
Yeah.
We need to make that issue into a positive.
Yeah.
And make sure that the outside world is seeing Stauff in its best light. There will be people who say, "Oh, we've done this." Yes, we have, but we've also gone ahead and we've changed it, and we've made sure we've improved. We're continuously improving. And again, going back to what I said before about the mistakes, that's where you learn your lessons, and you push forward with it.
Yeah. And the trust, do you start with a lot of trust or little trust or not trust? How about you?
For me,
yeah,
I'm erring towards not untrusting,
yeah,
but people do need to earn my trust. It's my nature.
Yeah.
You can't really change that. And I do trust people. What I do find is that if my trust is betrayed as such, that's when it becomes difficult for me. But again, that's about managing it and managing expectations.
And in terms of, because you're very switched on, you've seen so many changes in your career in the industry we work in. It's constantly evolving. The technology is changing. We now, you know, faced with artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And so many different things that are happening. How do you approach the ever-changing dynamics of your industry and stay ahead of emerging trends and technologies? Well, just the one thing I can say, this is an amazing studio you've built here, so you definitely step ahead on that one.
We are lucky in the business.
Yeah.
And I'll mention his name and he won't let me forget. John Morris is a pioneer, and he sees things and pushes us forward. There's never a bad idea with John.
Yeah.
He's always challenging us. And 9 times out of 10, it's there you go. I want you to do that, and then that's it he goes. But that's fine. You know, that's our job. That's what we're meant to do.
And John has been with the business for remarkable
42 years.
42 years. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted to say big thanks to John Morris, who allowed us to be here today at Stauff. So it's also thanks to John.
Yeah. While he's on holiday, sunning himself in Cyprus, I think he is. But,
I hope he's having a great time.
Yes, he is. He's very inspirational. And again, I have been lucky in my career that my bosses, my initial boss was my uncle, and then managing directors after that, I've always got on with very well. So yes, I've been fortunate.
So yes, as I said, it's obviously having a leader who is allowing you to bring those ideas to life, but it's also following the trends which you are interested in and always looking what's the next thing.
Well, the next thing with that is obviously with building the team, that gives me more time. And again, not just on a creative industry, but any industry, if you don't have time to sit back and see what's happening, that's when you do fall behind. Yeah. And again, I've been guilty of myself of just burying my head in work and pushing forward. When you stop for 5 minutes and just go and take a walk and have a think and look through social media and, you know, anything, any news reports like that, it always helps. So that's something that I've instilled in my team. They get half an hour a day just to sit and think. Yeah. And to go and look and see what new markets there are and new ideas, new ways of working, because we need to. And I've learned from the lesson. You can't
just stay in your own cocoon and just never...
And just keep going and going and going. It doesn't work. We've got a lot of work to do. And again, if we're falling behind with something, it's about communicating to our customers, and whether that's a customer internally or externally, you know, that there's been an issue. But we need that time to develop and be creative, because you can't just keep rolling it. Yeah,
I like that. Giving that actually allocated time to do it. Yeah. So what's looking ahead? What are the Stauff's goals and aspirations for the future? What are you working on? Any exciting projects or innovations on the horizon?
Well, the digital for us is going to be massive. Obviously, you mentioned AI. If you think about it for a long time, it's quite frightening. But it's how, again, you manage it and how you use it. Yeah. There's some part of AI which are very interesting and usable now. There's others where a human face is still and a human voice is still preferable. Yeah. So it's integrating both together. We're very much pushing forward with our digital platform and building that and pushing that. And as the team grows, we'll have time to offer that and improve it. doing the likes of what you're doing yourself with podcasts and that type of thing. So that's what we're pushing forward with on the Marcom side. From a Stauff as a whole, we're looking to build Stauff for the future. We've just started a program which is 3-5-10, 3 years, 5 years and 10 years, because as the people within the business grow older, we need to be looking after the business for the future. So we're directing it, managing it now, but we're also looking at the next level of management who are coming through, and actually encouraging them to take on a lot of our roles and push them forward, because there's going to get a point where we're not going to be here anymore, and they have to step up. And if we don't share our passions, really, because Stauff is a passion. Stauff is
it's a global company with a family feel.
Well, it's run by a family. The shareholders are a family, so they instill that in everybody.
So it's felt even on a national and a regional level, even though it's a different country, it's still got that. So, and we do try and instill that. And again, being very honest, it's not felt by everybody, but you're always going to get that. But on a whole, yes, we do push it as a family business. Fantastic. And I think another interesting way we, for example, utilize this space is by capturing the knowledge of all people who may probably retire in, let's say, a few years, and you digitally store all that knowledge, so it doesn't just disappear. That's
a program we're going through at the moment. We started quite recently with the realization that people are going to disappear from the business. We still keep contact with people, but bringing them back into the business is quite difficult. So we're sitting people down, just getting them to talk about product and about their experience, and then we can use that with the permission for training videos, or we can actually create manuals from it. But if we haven't got that initial information, we then can't. It's
planning and then capturing it and then processing it. So it's a really, really great idea. So
hopefully it works. I'm sure it will. We will make it work. That's it.
For sure. Before we close, though, as always, I love to ask about sources of inspiration. So what is this for you, Iain?
Inspiration? Oh, right. Definitely parents, without a doubt. I've got a young daughter and an older daughter who's just gone to university. Both inspirational. And
so you don't have to get inspired about some further bigger or somebody older. You can get inspired by young people as well.
Of course, my wife, you know, she inspires me every day. I think that's the word she uses anyway.
Oh, she loves that.
But yes, they do. They if you don't sit back sometimes and look at people younger than you, and the way they're going and growing, you're not going to learn. So that's my inspiration. And again, the people who've mentored me over the years, who I've mentioned already. There've been quite a few. I've worked in a few industries.
And so you also mentioned that sometimes you don't even know when the person impacted you. They think they just have a little interaction when they're actually just profoundly impacted some of the views or the way you do things, and they've taught you a really interesting lesson.
Definitely. It doesn't have to be a harsh lesson, but just a lesson that you take with you. And if you take with you, they've done the job.
Brilliant. Iain, thank you so much for the podcast today, sharing your journey from printing to Marcom business development at Stauff in this amazing studio. Thank you for watching this episode of The Finest Hour. I hope you've enjoyed the journey I've shared with you and what we've discussed with Iain. I'm really looking forward to bringing you more interesting stories from our group, and until next time, look after yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share this podcast. So I'll see you very soon. Thank you.